Hello and welcome to Stalevar. Yes, this is a new project and it's a collaboration with two other YouTubers. You probably already know them. They are Silvarret
Hey guys.
and Rudi Rennkamel.
Hey there.
And as you may have noticed, this is already the second episode in the series, so if you want to check out the first part, you can find that on the channel of Silvarret. I will link that below in the description, of course. So I just started here with the docs. So we wanted to have this kind of first concept design of the teaming, and yeah, I just wanted to start with the docks and like have a big robust crane to start out the project.
So yeah, basically that's the harbor I just spoiled last episode, right?
Yes.
But Sylv so did in the end of the episode. I have to say this design really is what you presented us in advance to when Sylv was building the layout, and I have to admit that this was really super great. And yeah, the amount of detail that goes into it is great, but you also set like a level of quality. When you handed the park over to me, I was like, oh gosh, I have to keep up to this. And that's like, oh yeah, I'm still going, I'm still doing, but this is super awesome. So I'm really curious to see that now in the time lapse, because I haven't seen that in the time lapse yet. I just have seen the final result, but yeah, awesome.
Thanks.
Same for me actually.
Yeah, it felt like an audition really for this collaboration because I made this first to just see if it was good enough or.
See, that's the thing when I just want to jump in here, because when we were first talking about the project and you just came in saying, yeah, do whatever you want, but I just like to build with the pieces in game, and I was like, this is super cool. It's like for me personally, I've been doing so much in Eastern Nepali with these UGC pieces lately and stuff, and I rediscovered tangling in the game again, and this is super awesome. And seeing what you just did with the in-game pieces is really great, because it kind of shows how much the game still keeps up to being super authentic and realistic with all the given pieces in game. You don't really need to have these UGC pieces in to give this crazy look. I mean, yes, you will need a lot more pieces, that's a given, but
yes.
In general, I just like the fact that we are using only in-game pieces now, and this is really a cool task, like back in the days. Just try whatever goes within the game, and that's kind of leveling out the given properties for everyone, and that's what we work with. And so it's pretty expected, but also pretty cool because everyone knows what to do with. And yeah, this is what I really like about this build in general, because it's full 100% Planko. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. I actually really have to agree with this, and it's something that I very shortly pointed out at the final part of the last video. But just all of the little details and the pieces that you used in this build, like using the screens for the nails in the metal, and not just the fact that you're using these pieces, but also how well they actually work, how convincing everything looks. Because I only saw the final product, and I really didn't expect it to include as many different pieces as I now see you built all of these steel constructions out of. So it's really cool. Everything, it not only uses the pieces super creatively, but it also comes together in a way that you don't even notice that you're using all kinds of different pieces for purposes that they're not even intended for. So really, it's a testament to your skill of putting these pieces together, but also really Planet Coaster's ability to morph pieces into all kinds of different uses to basically make everything that you want.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I haven't used. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I haven't used any of the toolkit items at all, so I just enjoy building like this and constructing every piece with just the in-game items.
That's kind of interesting, because I remember having some conversations with people that, you know, the theme park toolkit or the theme maker's toolkit really never took off as much as some people expected. You know, we never got really big building sets or lots of different pieces with it. It's mostly just restricted to some very small, you know, separate models. And it might not even be because the theme maker's toolkit is bad in any way, but just because the tools in the game that are already there are just so flexible that you can make just about anything with less effort than it would take to model it yourself in a different program and import it, that there's usually no need for the theme maker's toolkit unless you need it for some really specific thing.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I can really talk out of experience from Eastern Nepali. If you dedicate a whole series to it, it really works good. It really works well, and I have to say, given the size of the park now, the toolkit really helps to boil down the FPS. But that's about it, I guess. I could have achieved, let's say, 98% of the same result with all the in-game pieces. You know, I just would have needed to use, like, I think twice as many pieces. But I think, and I'm sorry to do this, but I think this is also a bit of the problem of the integration again. I feel like the same was with the scenario editor, which also never took off, because I feel like it's located a little bit too far back in the game. Like, if you know what I mean, it's just not so seamlessly integrated that it really makes sense for people to build these sets, for example. So, you know, you can just only upload one piece at a time. You can't really upload a set, for example. So it's not that you can just download a whole set and it will appear like a set in the game, you know what I mean? And it's also not that easy to create kind of a style and then just share it with everyone. I mean, yes, you can go and download like all 25 pieces of one set and then just bring them in yourself, but it's not really convenient, is it? So at the end of the day, also the design unfortunately varies too much from one creator to the other. So yeah, I also feel that I'm going back to the original game itself. That's how it is.
Yeah. I think it's also interesting to come back to what Operateur is doing again at the moment. You know, speaking of seamless integration, just watching all of these pieces come together is really nice. And I just had the idea that, you know, Operateur, you're mostly known for recreations, I would say.
Yeah.
Even though you've got a lot of your own projects, I think I mostly know you for your recreations, which I think is some of the best in the game.
Yeah.
And I think you can almost tell that you get a different sort of playing style due to doing a lot of recreations, which is very much focused on, you know, the details, on getting certain textures and the look of certain things right. And I don't know, it really feels like you have a different playing style than me, for instance. I never really do recreations, so I don't feel like I focus on details as much.
Wait,
and
stop.
For me, it's a different thing, though.
I don't agree, but okay.
People will rip you apart in the comments for sure.
I mean, I do not think I would have built the structure this way, and I mean that in a positive way. It's just a completely like different thing. And if I do detailing, it's more just because it's sort of something that I fill in, that I try to fill in the blanks. But I feel like Operateur has a much more clear idea of where he's going right from the get-go. I'm not sure if that is completely right, but that's just the feeling that I get from watching this.
Yeah, kind of. Not always, but yeah, sometimes it is.
Yeah, because I tend to jump into things without an idea of what things are going to look like exactly, just giving myself a general guide. And I don't know, if I'm detailing something, it's more like I'm just going wherever I feel like I'm going, more in a doodling kind of sense. Whereas I feel like your stuff is a little bit more of going for a certain something, like a certain look or a certain detail. But I'm sure we can discuss this a little bit more.
Yeah, I think the cool thing is we bring together three different point of views here, because I think I'm pretty much in the middle. I started my stuff with doing recreations, and then at one point I just, you know, left this and went full into doing my own stuff, and so I can relate to both sides somehow. I mean, the cool thing about doing recreations is that you are forced to achieve a certain look, what you just said. So it's either way focusing on it, but you also need to focus on this, because on this particular bit of the real world example there are screws, and so you need to do something to make it look like screws, right? If you build something still, for example, you just like whatever, it would be enough to do it that way, and I'm super happy with the texture how it is. I don't need screws, right? So this is the kind of thing you are in the middle. And I guess the cool bit about doing recreations at the beginning is that you really get an idea of what you can use for certain purposes, and you will definitely keep that as a learning and bring that in every time again. So I've seen operateur using quite a lot of times this black iron wall grinder thing where you can put the flowers on, and he always uses them as kind of a connection piece between angles of steel, which I looked a lot into, and I did this as well in the inner parts of Space Mountain. And so this is where you really know about the size of this specific piece, and so you know that you can use this piece whenever you want to connect two pillars with each other. And so this is super cool in doing these kind of recreations and then transport this back into the thing. And I think this is all the statement for all these people in the comments always asking for how we do get our ideas and why we know which pieces to use. And hell, it's always the same answer. It's like patience and practice. It's the perfect example.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So I just wanted to discuss the theming itself. Well, the idea where I got it from. It was a while back, I think a couple of years even. I found this article about someone who visited a deserted factory in Russia where they made space shuttles. I think it was in Russia, but I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, I've seen this one while browsing. Yeah, I know. I guess I know what you mean.
Yeah, and I was so impressed with how it looked. Well, of course, it was all destroyed, but just it had special, how do you say, atmosphere maybe. And yeah, it's something that just kept me interested in this kind of thing. So yeah, that's why I think that's why I just like this theme, and that I just like I said in the last episode, it was a theme I already had for a while, and I just kept it for collaboration basically. So yeah, that's why I picked it.
I like this. I particularly like the idea that you said it was destroyed on the pictures and stuff. I quite like this dimension of building on this kind of level in a computer game, because you're not restricted to not recreate something that is not existing anymore. For example, like I know a lot of people have been recreating Roman stuff, like in the very beginning when Cucamonda made the Colosseum, for example. It doesn't keeps you away from doing stuff that is destroyed. You can just go with the bare idea of what it is and then just bring that back to life, which for me it's always the fascination about building games in general.
Yeah.
So it's really a really great source of inspiration, and I'm just a little bit blown away by all the amount of detail you're just putting in here.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I mean, I totally agree with the idea that, this is a great way to bring back, old kinds of architecture or old themes that you don't really see nowadays anymore, even fictional. Anything goes in a theme park setting, which makes it really interesting. But also, when I said that I don't detail my stuff as much as operateur does, I think that's inarguable if you look at these clips. There's a lot of small things where I think to myself, I definitely wouldn't have gone into that level of detail, which is absolutely great. Just all of these little touches, the nails, the way that things have been attached to each other, moving that letter into the wall, for instance, all of that is absolutely great.
It's just not just bring the wall, the letter to the wall. No, it's just really bring it into the wall. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something also for just not about this project, but in general about windows and doors. So they are in Planko basically just stick on walls and doors and windows, I mean. But if you try and make an opening in the wall and you place the door and the window like this ladder, like a little bit back, then it gives much more depth and realism to it instead of just sticking it on the wall like it's intended.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like we're looking at the read trick that you kind of initiated, Silv and Garuda, isn't? I just saw him placing the how's it even called? It's not. Is it like, what kind of stuff is this? What you used here? Is it
Those hanging
wines or whatnot?
Something hanging. They normally have to be used upside
that's
down.
it. I remember Silv using them in Garuda in the river, and I was like, what the hell is he even doing?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, awesome. I really love this. So see, it's all coming back. That's so awesome. I just love it. And man, it's always fascinating. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but when I do look at my time lapses, and most likely it's just checking for the preparation of the video, but it's like always this kind of relief to see this time lapse, how it all comes together. And while you build, you don't really see it that way, but if it's creating that view, it's even more intense when you see that on someone else's video. I don't know, it's just it's so relaxing at a point, but also so super satisfying to see how this all works together.
Yeah, for me it also, every time I underestimate how much faster everything goes in a time lapse, because this is hours of gameplay, all just compressed into a few minutes, and it's always something that, especially if you render out the time lapse right after you've recorded, it feels like you've spent a lifetime trying to record that one episode, and it feels like you've come so far, and then you short it down into a time lapse, and it's just like in 15 minutes you see everything happening at such a fast speed. And there's something really satisfying also about seeing, well, all of that hard work not per se being compromised, but just seeing it all happen at one go.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Okay, so here I just started on the first building. I was not sure to the colors of the bricks, because I think most of the buildings may be red bricks, but I just wanted to do something else and just made the gray bricks instead.
I do like them quite a bit, I have to say. I purposely reuse them in my build as well, and so I have to say, good choice here. I can definitely relate to that, and I feel like even though if we go a bit more into the reddish bricks later on, I love this very desaturated look to it. I don't know why, but it in these kind of old factories, whatnot, I feel like there's a lot of desaturation going on anyway. So I do like that.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. I think we can mix and match colors of bricks, but maybe not too much. But I think we also can have like red brick buildings or so.
Yeah, maybe also just having
totally.
a little bit of a how's it even called when the color is transition? Yeah, it's like a transition. You can also transition them from a position to the other to get it a bit more desaturated in the shadows, or like more saturated in the shadows. So that kind of could be a cool effect. I don't know how to realize it though, but it just came to my mind.
Yeah.
Well, I think any colors in a sort of, warm spectrum of colors would work out. Any red or beige or, white like this bricks. As far as my experience goes, I know when we were in Narva going over this enormous post-industrial complex in Estonia, there were actually a lot of these greyish bricks as well. A lot of buildings were very beige.
Beige, okay.
Which I didn't really expect too much, but they had a lot of beige colors as well. But also definitely some red colors, and it's just... I think it will, of course, be most interesting to switch up the colors between the different buildings, and especially even between the different parts of one building. I think Baron 1898 can be a really good example of that.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. That should be...
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, this is, I don't know. I'm just a little bit overwhelmed by what kind of pieces you use all over the place. I mean, I've seen that, but I haven't seen so much in detail that you used all the cables for like the iron grinders of the windows. Holy crap, man. Because actually, I have to tell this a little bit here. So I'm currently working on something. I'm not going to say what exactly, but I was actually looking into what you build a bit more into detail to make sure that we are matching styles a little bit, to also see how modern your approach was. And this particular piece over here, this little computer to the entrance of the elevator, really defined, for me at least, the kind of period you are looking at. So it's definitely more like Cold War-ish time of period, and I think the pieces from the sci-fi set in a certain way do match up really nicely. I used quite a bit of them. They do really fit into it. I mean, you always have to cover it up by these iron pipes, for example, to make sure that it still looks enough, I don't know, postmodern era. I don't even know if that makes sense, but or pre-modern era. I don't even know how to call it, but it's not like super sci-fi, but it's, you know, it's kind of this sci-fi when you would watch movies from the 60s or 70s. And this really gave me a good idea of what to do. And so I hope that I can transport your given style here into my builds. And this is why I stole a little bit of your items, to be honest. But I think that's the way it goes. So yeah, super awesome.
Yeah, sure.
To be honest, what you said here as an idea. And I can't wait what you will do with the stuff I am doing.
Yeah. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next, but yeah, we will see.
Yeah, first Sylv has to figure out what he's going to do with like supporting and stuff.
Yeah, because we still need to see how much we're going to theme that, and if we want to put theming in first before I start adding supports. You know, it's going to have to be this kind of project like Baron 1898 or Terran, where the scenery of the coaster is very much linked to the supports and to the coaster itself. So it's very much going to have to be a joint effort where the theming and the support work come together in one structure.
I can already tell you that when I'm done with my stuff, you'll probably need one episode already to make that work.
Oh god.
Yeah. I needed to work out a little bit around the track, and this will definitely need a lot of custom supporting in this little bit I just worked on. So I think this will be a cool challenge. Which was absolutely not intentional, to be honest. It just turned out. I mean, you've seen some sneaky peeky images already that could give you an idea already, but yeah, but I think even...
Well, I think honestly the best way that we've always been that we've always been able to work together is that you always keep giving me a challenge, which I need honestly, because I never give myself a challenge. So it's like there's something really great, because I know you're always better at coming up with stuff, and I prefer, you know, trying to overcome certain problems or you know, come up with ways to solve something that's really difficult to get around. And it's just a really interesting way of working together. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see what operateur brings into it, because as I said, and this holds absolutely true, because I haven't seen the time-lapse last episode, and I said that I really love the way how precise you work and how detailed. Honestly, I was so right.
And yeah, and I still stand by my original, you know, opinion. I think both Rudi and I are less detailed in a sense, but definitely less clean, I think. We tend to leave more stuff hanging or totally leave more stuff to the imagination. And the detailing here is not just, you know, really in detail, because, you know, when you're looking at it that way, then detailing is really just adding details. And I think that's not really selling what good detailing is. Good detailing isn't just adding lots of details, you know. Good detailing is adding them in the right places and adding them in a way that makes sense and in a way that fits very much and looks very clean. And that's something that I think you're absolutely amazing at, and something that Rudi and I are both missing.
Absolutely, yeah. Just look at those poles. Just look at those poles being there. Like, absolutely, they have a space there, but I would have never put them there. Never. This is just crazy.
It's nice to hear. But I think we are almost done with this time lapse.
See, and you were worrying that we can't fit it in, and Sylv and I will always bring you to the end.
I said I cannot fit it if I was by myself, but yeah, of course.
Okay, it's fading out. Good. Awesome.
Ooh, cinematics.
Mr. Sucker for cinematics.
Oh, that looks so good. Yeah, it's just a really subtle detail that I really like.
I just loved how the bird just died. If you just look at the shadow. It just crashed into the bottom.
There is always a bird passing on every... I don't know why, but... Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, there are so many birds in this game.
Wow. I'm stunned. Okay.
Yeah.
And we can leave you all with the rest of the cinematics.
Oh yeah, sure.
Thank you all for watching. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more, and I will see you. We will see you in the next video that will probably be on Rudis' channel. I will link that as well in the description.
Yep.
And I would want to thank you guys to have joined me in this video.
Sure, no problem.
It was great.
Thanks, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye guys.